It's a brand new day. Welcome on the AM show. Let's settle for the news, and after that we shall get into other details to expect on the show. Now, in our first story, police in the Central Region have picked up a second suspect, a chief in connection with the alleged murder of a 25-year-old nurse trainee, Georgina Aso-Botwe, in Mankasim. The police earlier arrested a pastor who confessed to helping the local chief kidnap, kill, and secretly bury her. Central Regional correspondent Richard Kwedunyako has been speaking to the family of the nursing trainee and now reports.
Adameba, akukumeba, asodie, aso, memfa hin machia wa aso, memfa hin machia aso minnim o, wadimawu ifabofo no wadimawu oke kosumamu aw obaha se tamo ya sunju oba be ye yanu tisuade oba ye obeda ma de echiye ye aduane de esu so me kwa yi asisa atam na set me bana ka na me ba so no ye aduane de esu okoba ya wo se mesika yara ewurade so na ye ya jaisu na yesu se na brantie no onye ni papa so oba be kumi binim so oba be dimi bone uchi muame onye ni papa nso nim so onye ni papa ene so okoya wako dimi ba awu wako kume ba asie me ba di roba achechire me ba de na hye fom asesa na bag ne phone ni nyina waje e de bag ne de omusie ye no mo de ahye amana no maka anwe gu me ba na so ye ko bi sai wo so no akotu akode ye na kwa ko hye hospital Asamano no.
Let's head to Wa now, and there was confusion near Stampede at the Wa School for the Deaf after a female student spotted a man dressed in black with a mask covering the face and blew the alarm on Tuesday night. The hearing-impaired learners ran out of the dormitory and headed towards the school's main gate for protection. None of the students was hurt during the process. JoyNews' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam now reports.
The Wa School for the Deaf is located in the Nepobokole enclave and a stone throw away from the spot where the latest lifeless body of a young adult was found on Tuesday. Headmaster of the Wa School for the Deaf, Sylvester Bayo, revealed that a female student went behind the girls' dormitory to fetch water and saw a man dressed in black and the face covered with a mask. She quickly turned back to the dormitory and blew the alarm.
Between the hours of 7:30 and 8 in the evening, that one of the student girls went behind the girls' dormitory to, according to her, to fetch water, and saw somebody dressed in black with a mask. So she ran back to inform others. And because of the recent happenings, most of them got scared and some took off to the main gate where they believe the watchmen are always seated so that they could get cover.
The incident brought total confusion at the school as all the students ran towards the school gate to seek protection from the security men.
Because of the recent happening, they are scared. And because of that, some were running to the watchmen for protection. I think they thought that was one of the murderers that had come in. Others were running towards bungalows to get support from teachers. So of course we don't have to blame them because nobody is happy with the situation and everybody is scared.
Sylvester Bayo lamented about the low number of security men coupled with lack of street lights at the school, which they have complained about severally but has not yielded any results.
As for the street light, we have cried and cried and cried. And we think that if we had a brighter campus, it will serve us better. In our situation, when we are walking, we are using our eyes to see and using the eyes to hear. Because when we don't see, we don't hear. And when they turn the back or when the place is dark, you can't see far. So the lighting system is very necessary. But we've done it severally, appealed to stakeholders, but we've not got any help.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, has rounded off his 3-day tour of the Upper West region. The IGP toured all 11 administrative districts and municipalities to see for himself the challenges they are facing. Whilst in the region, he seized the opportunity to interact with some residents in the region. Though the residents are pleased with his tour, they will want him to up the ante and change the style of deployment.
Well, we're actually pleased he's around, but what we need most is peace. We are all not happy with what is going on in the region, so we're just hoping that he should put his men together so that they unravel, the mystery behind this serial killing.
I thought the IGP presence in the Upper West region would really bring a stop to this, but it looks like we are still in fears. Because the day IGP reported here, but the next day we found the dead body. And most especially where the policemen are spotted at the various rules are not where the killings are done. So we are expecting that they should be posted to where the crimes are occurred and not at the roadsides.
We are all happy to see him in the region because we have a situation at hand we ourselves we can't handle. So but when we heard his arrival, we were all happy.
The IGP climaxed the tour at the new Upper West Regional Police Headquarters at Walusombo. The construction of the police headquarters started some 8 years ago and has been abandoned by the police administration, and as a result, and has now been covered by overgrown weeds. Dr. George Dampare was met there by a member of the National Police Council, Harry Bin Sali, who took him round the site. The IGP made some observations but remained tight-lipped. Surely, the people of the Upper West region, particularly Wa, will be feeling better than the nights before. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wa.
In our next story, members of the Ahanta Traditional Council have poured out their sentiments about the seeming neglect of all roads in the Ahanta land, despite the government's pledge to construct more roads this year. They say the neglect of Ahanta roads by the MPP-led administration comes as a surprise to them, considering the loyalty of the people of Ahanta towards the NPP. They have called on the President and the Minister of Roads and Highways to treat their call with the highest level of urgency, since the residents and motorists are losing their patience each passing day.
Last year, close to Ewuseju, the bitumen layer at this portion of the road has been ripped off. Parts of the pedestrian walkway, laid with pavement blocks, have caved in because the double road has become so narrow, and even for trotros and taxis, because everyone wants to swerve the ditch, Hence, the bullies, heavy-loaded truck, decide to spread their wheels. In the wake of saving your vehicle joints, bolts and nuts, as well as your shock absorbers, other vehicles pile up behind you and then create a traffic.
It's exactly 2 weeks when JoyNews came on the Aguna-Nkwanta to Takoradi Road. Today we are back on the road, and as you can see, there is still vehicular traffic. But the Ghana Manganese Company, after our report, has started filling the portion of the road. Today, the chiefs of Ahanta say they are disappointed in government for failing to construct roads in Ahanta lands. They say that they feel that the slogan "Year of Roads" have not benefited the people of Ahanta.
We, the of Ahanta traditional area, wish to express our displeasure in the despicable condition of Ahanta roads and Western region at large, most especially the Takoradi to Aguna-Nkwanta Highway, which coincidentally is a road leading to Ghana's Jubilee oil field. Then Aguna-Nkwanta Discof Road, Busia Junction to Busia Road, Sanko-Nkwanta to Kipti Point Road, the Mile 32 to Ejambra Road. All these roads are very, very bad. The current state of these roads is very disturbing and makes it very extremely difficult for motorists flying along the said route. Western region contributes about 50% GDP to the economy of Ghana. When it comes to politics, the people of Ahanta and the Western region always vote massively for the MPP, but these don't commensurate with their region's development. Ahanta West especially has been left out of the government's much-touted Year of Roads program. Almost every day, the road is blocked by heavy trucks that are falling over, trying to navigate the rough portions.
The traditional leaders, clad in red apparel to signal their pain and frustration on the current state of the Aguna-Nkwanta to Takoradi Highway, say life has become difficult for the people of Ahanta.
It is therefore extremely disappointing that such an important stretch could be left to deteriorate like this. The bad nature of these roads has affected easy movement of goods and businesses in these areas, making life conditions especially difficult for people living in these areas.
3 years ago, it took only 30 minutes to travel from Aguna-Nkwanta to Takoradi, but today the story is different.
Yes, each and every morning I have to travel from Takoradi to Aguna-Nkwanta. I'm dental surgery technician, so I have to come to work and work. Now, at times you spend like 45 minutes to 1 hour, most especially when there is a blockage. So it affects my work, and as a Ghanaian I need to serve my people. Now if a stretch of road would cause my delay at the office, then we can see where we are heading towards to as a country. So it's a problem. It's not really helping me, and I think we need to act. We need to be serious in this country. Our leaders are not serious, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not afraid to speak in front of this. Our leaders are not serious, and they need to be serious for once.
The stretch of road carries everything good, bad, heavy, light or thin to and from the western parts of the region. Nana Mozudi 8, speaking on behalf of the Queens of Ahanta, expressed fear of the falling over of big trucks on the road each day.
Explosives are original. Imagine this is that there is traffic. Now there is an explosion now. You can imagine what will happen. Do we want what happened in Stampede to happen in Ahanta, Takoradi Road? Our answer is no. So if the answer is no, we should do something about it.
Divisional Chief of Ahanta, Abuadin Nana Etin Kofi II says they are calling on the government to treat them with the highest level of urgency, since the residents and motorists are losing their patience each and every day.
Our people have tolerated this for far too long and may no longer be able to contain the anger and frustrations that the situation presents. We are therefore standing on their behalf to ask that the government treat this call with the highest level of urgency it deserves. If our roads are not put in order, we shall advise ourselves.
For JoyNews, in Athalia Kwansa Ewusiejo.
Well, on that note of deplorable roads in the Western region, we cap off the news, but up next, it's a serving of the news review. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for the news review as we dig into the papers and beyond. We'll be joined by Liz Hayfran-Asari, Deputy Commissioner at the RTI Commission. Liz, a very good morning to you. I see she's unmuted. I can hear her, but very faintly. We'll work on that technical glitch and get back shortly. But I have a stack of papers: Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, Business Finder, Daily Guide, the Daily Statesman. Let's start finding out what they have to share with us this morning. Of course, that very topical matter, Reform International Financial Structure, President to the UN. He was speaking, of course, at the UN General Assembly, and he had some interesting comments to make. We also know that there is that South African entity that now is being buoyed with support from African countries when it comes to having our own credit rating agencies. Of course, it has its limitations, but it would stand in the gap and prevent what some African countries have described as unfairness in the global economic infrastructure and how our credit ratings are determined by the groups we already know: Fitch, Standard & Poor's, and of course, Moody's. So we'll be getting into that story. There's also Protect Nations Peace, that's according to a UN representative. Then, section of Obechabi-Lamte Road closes today. But the banner headline today on the front page of the Daily Graphic: Fight against Galamsey, halt culture of impunity, Jinapo rallies national support. I have so many things running through my mind on the back of this. I'll be getting into that story. But let's start from page 16. And this is what it has to say. Reform International Financial Structure. Now, our President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has reiterated the urgent need for the international financial structure to be reformed to meet the needs of developing and emerging economies. Quote, he said, "The necessity for reform of the system is compelling." He argued, saying the current structure was skewed significantly against developing and emerging economies such as Ghana's. He added that the avenues open to wonderful, powerful nations to enable them to take measures that would ease pressures on their economies were closed to small nations. He further said the structure, from its prejudiced tags, denied Africa access to cheaper borrowing and pushed the continent into deeper debt. But specifically on the credit ratings issue, this is what he had to say. Quoting him again, "To make matters worse, credit rating agencies have been quick to downgrade economies in Africa, making it harder to service our debts. The tag of Africa as an investment risk is little more than, in substance, a self-fulfilling prophecy created by the prejudice of the international money market, which denies us access to cheaper borrowing, pushing us deeper into debt." So my quick take before I bring in Liz is that, yes, it's a side and side, half and half issue. African economies, most of them have had their own issues when it comes to mismanagement. And that is clear. I mean, all the way from 2018, 2019, thereabouts, Pierre Laporte of the World Bank had been telling us about how we're inching closer to that precipice, economic precipice. But then, of course, COVID-19, the Russo-Ukrainian war, and now Vladimir Putin is bringing in the reservists, about 300,000 of them. He is conscripting, ordinary citizens of fighting age. In fact, listening to the BBC, there are tales of some prisoners who have found their way into Ukraine and all of that. So that is not ending anytime soon. But these are problems that, adding to our own localized ones, created a mess for us. But this is the thinking of Mr. President. African countries are pushing for it. I think it's a good thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean we should totally decouple ourselves from the other agencies. It will give some balance, I think. Liz, if you can hear me now. Great. I can also hear you. Let's start with our first story. Our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has been speaking at the UN, at the General Assembly to be specific, and he talks about, the unfair economic situation globally between the global north and the global south, where we find ourselves, and the habit of credit ratings agencies to give us a raw deal. What is your take on his reaction?
Well, I listened to the president yesterday and I was thinking, if we think that we're going to get ourselves out of the rut and we are still depending on the Western world, who says they want to see us out of the rut? If we know what we want to do and we go for it, Why don't we look into Africa and see if we can get our investors within Africa? Why must we always be going cap in hand to ask for people to come and invest in our continent? And if we do that all the time, definitely they have an upper hand because they have the monies, they have the funds, they decide where they want to invest. Talking to a colleague yesterday, he said to me that the UN has to catch up with the Rwandan government. And when I asked him what he meant, he says that Rwanda has decided the way they want to go and they're working towards it. And they're waiting for nobody. If Rwanda can do it, why can't the rest of Africa do it? So I believe that we need to look inside and see how best we can work our way out of the rut that we have dug ourselves into. If you definitely are talking about depending on the West, they are looking at developing their own continents and their own countries. We should do same. And even though we work together, even though we would partner each other, because they need some of our raw materials, we need their investments. But if we do not sit at a negotiating table and negotiate to the extent where we see ourselves as partners and not being the downtrodden and always going cap in hand to beg for them to come and help us out, we won't go anywhere.
We're not going anywhere. Let me just tie in, and I know I'm going to another paper, but I'll come back to the Daily Graphic. The middle spread of the Ghanaian Times newspaper also captures that story, pages 16 and 17. And it says, quoting the president, "The financial markets have been set up and operate on rules designed for the benefit of rich and powerful nations. And during times of crisis, the facade of international cooperation under which they purport to operate disappears. These are the savage lessons that we've had to take in as the world emerged from the grip of COVID-19 to energy and food price hikes and a worldwide rise in the cost of living. The necessity for reform of the system is compelling." So he talks, Liz, about this reform of the system, which, yes, I believe must happen. This is the fourth time that Mr. President is making this call. But when he talks about the savage lessons that we've had to take in, it gives me food for thought. Have we learned the lessons when it comes to overspending, not cutting our coat according to our cloth, being tied to the apron strings of the Bretton Woods institutions, like we're seeing one more time? We're heading to the IMF for a 17th package and all of that. I ask myself, these savage lessons Mr. President speaks of, have we learnt them? What do you think, Liz?
I don't think we've learnt any lessons. Because we just keep going around in a vicious circle and thinking that each time we stretch our hands, it will be filled. And that is what we should be working against. We should be looking at getting whatever we are investing from ourselves. And like you said, our overspending is killing us. So let's cut our coat according to our cloth. Let's see how austere we can be to make sure that we develop as a country. If we don't do that and we keep spending thinking that that is the way to go and that when we go asking for money, we'll always get it, we won't be going anywhere. Again, what are the savage lessons that we have learned? Because I believe that if you learn a lesson, you won't want to fall foul of whatever lesson you have learned, because if it is savage, then it hits you hard. And if it hits you hard, you don't want to go there again. So if we have learnt the lessons, then let's go by the lessons that we have learnt.
Let me go to page 3. In fact, start from the front page of the paper before I double back to page 17. Fight against Galamsey, halt culture of impunity. Jinapor replies or rallies national support. Now, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu Jinapor, has called for collective national action involving all stakeholders to end the culture of impunity associated with illegal mining in the country. He said, although the government had implemented numerous interventions to help fight Galamsey over the past 6 years, current results were not satisfactory because of the complex nature of the menace. Responding to a question on whether the verdict he had given meant that Galamsey, the fight against Galamsey was a failure, he said the government had done, quote, tremendous work in containing the menace, but that there was more work to be done to root it out. And he adds, finally, let me just sneak this in. I do not want us to be looking at this whole matter to do with Galamsey from the angle of its being a failure or a success. Dealing with illegal mining, regulating it and turning it into a responsible industry that contributes to our national economy and the life of our country is a process. It cannot be an event. It cannot be achieved overnight. It will require systematic, sustained effort and action over a period of time. You know what this reminds me of, Liz? When I think speaking to the GBC, I believe, he made mention of something similar, that it's going to take, some 4, 5 to 10 years, to win or gain some sufficient ground against Galamsey. But I ask myself, within that period of time, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, would there be anything left after the Galamsey menace as we see it and the way it is ravaging our water bodies? Look, it's so shameful because even the Ivory Coast is now calling us out and saying, deal with your problem because your waters are polluting our waters. It's destroying our cocoa farms and all of that. And it's been said, and I reiterate, we could I wouldn't say very soon, but get to the point where we have to import water. What would it take? I don't know. I am just, right now, I really don't know where the fight against Galamsey is going. I don't know whether you have maybe a more optimistic posture.
No, I don't. I don't think I have a more optimistic posture. I keep saying that we sit and wait, and then when it hits us hard, and then we start to react. It is said that a stitch in time saves 9. We have had Galamsey for how long? And what have we really done to fight Galamsey? I sometimes think that when we are ruthless, we get better results. But no one wants to be ruthless because they know who are involved. And if we don't deal with those who are involved, it's not those who are out there mining who are the big guns behind Galamsey. It's those who are able to afford the machines and give it to the small guys who go and do the mining, who risk their lives. And so if we know who they are, and we are sitting and we keep saying that we are fighting Galamsey by going to the site and seizing excavators and burning them and so on and so forth, who says that those who are behind can't afford new excavators and give to the same people? And if we do not go beyond and educate the people to know that they're destroying the environment, the same environment which belongs to them, that will be for the future, for their children, for their children's children, then we won't be going anywhere. You look at the environment and you are so, I don't even know what word to use. I was excited when I used to cover for Ghanaian Times Ashanti Gold. And they started the reclamation of the lands, and you could see that they had planted palm and all kinds of things. And we have gone beyond that now and destroyed everything. Even the reclaimed lands have been destroyed. And we sit and we pay lip service, and we continue to pay lip service. If we are not ruthless and do not deal with the people who are involved in Galamsey, we are not going anywhere.
And, I wholly agree with you when you talk about ruthlessness. That is what I believe has been left out, and that is why a lot of people will talk about political will being absent. And I can understand, in a way, why the administration in and out has not been so ruthless. You know why? Because their own people, the political elements are there. Some of the chiefs are in there. There are community leaders in there. But there is no fight that can be won when you want to pick and choose between what you have to do. That's not how, countries have developed. And interestingly, just to cap off on this story, in terms of resources we've pumped into this venture list, it would interest you that as of this point, I always find it interesting when, government institutions, MMDAs, you ask them, how much have we spent on this? How much have we spent on that? And they're not able to say it. So asked how much the country had spent so far on the fight against illegal mining, the minister said millions of Ghana cedis had been pumped into fighting the menace. And quoting him, I will not have the exact amount for you, but millions have been spent over the period of the fight from Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt 1, Operation Halt 2, and all the various interventions we have made to tackle Galamsey. So we can't tell how much we've spent on the fight.
I was doing some research to look into whether South Africa and Tanzania suffer from Galamsey, illegal mining.
South Africa has its own, they have their own situation there.
Exactly. But you see, it hasn't got to the point where the country thinks that everything is being messed up. And when you talk about water being life, then you realize that we really are not fighting because all our waters have been polluted. It's going to cost us more to be able to clear those waters to make them potable. And that's why you're talking about importing water. So it has an effect even wider than just the environment. And it has an effect on all of us who depend on those sources of water for our drinking and other household matters. So it is something that will affect us far and wide, but we are doing absolutely nothing about it. We are paying a lot of lip service. And if we do not nip it now and start to clear our waters, then I don't know where we are headed.
Only God knows. And we wish the sector minister, Mr. Janapo, Godspeed on that journey. But let's wrap with the Daily Graphic on the story. Abandoned moves to make Ghana card sole document for voter registration, NDC to EC. It makes for interesting reading, so let's just get into it. The NDC has called on the Electoral Commission to abandon its newly proposed constitutional instrument that it said sought to make the Ghana card the sole document for voter registration. Quote, since the CI has not formally been laid before Parliament, we take this opportunity to call upon the EC to abandon the idea altogether. We wish to serve notice that we will use every lawful means to resist this latest effort to undermine the right of the Ghanaians to vote and in the process skew the electoral system in favor of the new patriotic party. Finally, in light of the above, we demand an immediate cessation of all work on the laying of the CI in Parliament, pending thorough deliberations and consultations with all relevant stakeholders to fine-tune it to take on board the concerns expressed by us and others that may be held by other stakeholders. Are we in a rush with this CI, especially as people have pointed out, not every Ghanaian who qualifies to vote has the Ghana card. Some through a fault of their own, others through no fault of their own. When you don't have a foolproof system, how do you start running the system even before it's ready? Your take.
Let me go to talking to a watchman that I saw passing in front of my house, and he was whistling away and feeling very happy. So I said, in this Ghana where we are suffering, why is he so happy? He says, those who want to suffer will suffer. So I asked him, what do you mean? And he says that, he was just talking to a friend who had complained that he had gone to queue for so long for a Ghana card and that he needed it for his bank account. And I said, don't you need one for your bank account? He said, no, he doesn't have a bank account. And I'm like, so if you have to vote and you have to use the Ghana card, what will you do? He says he won't vote. And so I was thinking to myself, how many of these kinds of people do we have who think that the system is putting too much pressure on them and they won't be bothered with the system's pressure? So he will live his life as simple as he wants to live it. He won't have a bank account. He won't do anything that he needs a Ghana card for. And then you begin to think that when we in the cities sit and take decisions without really consulting and having everybody as a stakeholder, where are we headed? Because we need every Ghanaian to be comfortable in the nation of Ghana and belong. And so we need to think through, and I think that most of the times that's what I see that we don't do. We don't think through our policies. We don't think through to the extent that you're considering that everybody in this nation is a stakeholder in that policy. And so it favors some and it doesn't favor some. I think that if you ask me, I also think that it is a rush because a lot of people, even in the cities, don't have their IDs. And when you go, they say there's a system failure, the cards are insufficient, we don't have enough cards, we have to get cards. And people are also going through because they think that they need it to do their business, they are paying for it. And apparently I heard that you were not supposed to pay anything to get a Ghana card. But you hear so many people say, I had to pay 250 cedis to get a Ghana card. And then the question is, so the 250 cedis, who is it going to and what is it being used for? So we ourselves are not cut out to doing things the right way and doing things properly. I said to a lot of people, and I tried to encourage people when they were going around, it doesn't matter how long you have to go and wait, get your card. And so you realize that those who did not take advantage of that are the ones who are struggling now to get a Ghana card. And then to think that it has to be linked to your SIM card, so you need a phone and everything. And interestingly, the watchman says that the only person who calls him is his boss, the one he waits for. and the person knows how to get to him. That everybody else that he deals with is just around him. So he is living in kind of like a shell that he has created for himself, and he doesn't think that the rest of us really matter. It is his life that he's living. How many people are we going to push to be like this watchman? You know, so we need to think of everybody when we are coming up with our policies, and we need to think of everybody when we are promulgating instruments and laws that will affect all of us.
Interesting thoughts you shared there, and it's a very curious situation with this watchman. But let's get into other stories very quickly. Ghanaian Times, it talks about reforming the international financial system, as we've already touched on, and that's according to our president. 13 banks promise YouStart program 5 billion Ghana cedis. And then there's Bank of Ghana clamps down on illegal forex operators, 76 arrested. That's also pertinent. Police exhume body of student nurse murdered in Mankasim. That's a very heart-wrenching situation that we've had. Since yesterday, we've been telling you about that story and how malicious people can be. I mean, how can you... Anyway, let's get to the economic stories, starting with the one on page 10. And 13 banks have promised the YouStart program 5 billion Ghana cedis. That is according to the Ghana Association of Banks, which has offered to provide a total of 5 billion Ghana cedis to support the program. The finance minister, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, who disclosed this during the signing of agreements with the participating financial institutions of the YouStart program in Accra on Tuesday, said the government would provide 3 billion Ghana cedis, while development partners provided 2 billion Ghana cedis to support the implementation of the 10 billion Ghana cedi program meant to support the youth to create their own businesses. So when you look at the breakdown, it would mean that government is providing 3 billion, development partners 2 billion, the banks 5 billion Ghana cedis. You know about the YouStart program and what it seeks to achieve? We're pumping, at least for now, some 10 billion Ghana cedis. You could say that is the equivalent of what? 1 billion American dollars into this program. Yet another such policy. How are you holding your breath on this one?
Yes, I am. But again, when I think about it, we are trying to encourage the youth to be entrepreneurial, and that is a very good thing. But what is there to say that they all want to go into the same kind of business? I want to see them being more or less groomed and guided into what to do, because otherwise we would have so many businesses that are doing the same thing, so competing amongst themselves. And there will be other areas that will be short because there's nobody willing to go into that kind of business. So it's not just about giving them money. It's about making sure that when they start their enterprises, we can grow those enterprises. And again, when they start their enterprises, and I keep saying that I see a lot of competition, which is good. But you see, again, a lot of small-scale industries that are competing amongst themselves. And when you think that when they come together, they probably will be able to build a bigger industry that would serve us as a people well. So are we trying to ensure that even as they start their enterprises, as time goes by, they can come together and probably have an industry that will compete not only amongst themselves in Ghana, but probably in the sub-region and later in the whole of Africa. If you're not looking beyond that, and we are just looking at the startup for them now, then I don't know what the future would hold for them.
And of course, the other story there, Bank of Ghana clamps down on illegal forex operators. 76 of them have been arrested. We're talking in simple terms about the black market. And
yes, and it will be interesting to know how long they have been operating for.
They have been operating for donkey years. I know that.
Exactly.
When you go to certain places here in Accra, and I keep saying that usually I refrain from mentioning the name of the police station. There is a police station right here in the heart of Accra, and these people operate right behind the wall of the police station, the Ghana Police Service. That has always, it's something that I've actually found curious. I actually spoke to a policeman in that, police station once and told him, do you guys not see these people? Do you not know that their work is illegal? And he said, well, it's not, how we go do them? That's what he told me. So I find it interesting now that all of a sudden we seem to have realized that it is really affecting our currency. And they actually tend to be drivers of inflation, but anyway, of the currency.
The policeman's son could be in there, his brother could be in there, his nephew could be in there, because they weren't there to sit right behind the wall if they didn't know anybody in the police station, I'm sure. And I'm sure if the police were asked to swoop, they'll give them a hint that we've been asked to come down on you, so you people had better not come tomorrow. So that is the way we go. And again, I always say that it boils down to political will, ruthlessness, dealing with it, nipping it in the bud. We wait for it to fester. And when it does, and people get used to using that and finding that it's a better and a faster way of changing their monies or getting more money for their dollars, they definitely would not go to your licensed bureaus to change their money, because they probably will get 1-2 CDs more than what you get in the bureau. And that is fast business for everybody.
Let's wrap with this story, and we'll call it a review. The Daily Statesman reports stories that we've already digested, but at least it says, boss, no imminent shortage of petroleum products, and 6 teachers arrested for examination malpractice. The Daily Guide as well already reflects stories that we've looked at. The one to do with the pastor and the chief, killing a student nurse, and 9 dead in fresh Boku clash. But let's look at this one. IMF bounces Mahama. The story is on page 3. And the IMF has once again dismissed ex-President John Dramani Mahama's politicized claim, according to the paper. The Ghana's current economic challenges are a result of the bad policies of the Akufo-Addo-led government. Now it says, but the politically opportunistic claim, which is intended to put government in a bad light, was watered down when the IMF again cleared the government of the politicized accusations by Mr. Mahama. It talks about the fund's Director of Communications, Gary Rice, who says former President Mahama's blame seems wrong-headed, insisting that his boss was right when she indicated that the current Ghanaian economic situation is not a result of bad economic policies. Now, his boss spoke to me and made mention of this. But what is interesting, what many people have found interesting, is how in an Article 4 delivery of the same IMF, before Ghana reached out for the IMF package, they were singing a very different tune. So to the ordinary Ghanaian, many people are asking, is the IMF leading us on the right path? What is your take as a citizen?
I think we should go Rwanda's way. We should let the IMF and everybody else be catching up with us. It's heartwarming to hear somebody say, and that person works with the UN, and he says that the UN has to catch up with the Rwandan government. I don't expect the IMF to sing any other tune. After all, they're working with us. Sometimes I try to...
You're lost for words, huh?
And I try to be careful so I don't really step on toes. But you see, I believe that the IMF have their work cut out for them. And having their work cut out for them, if singing a tune that will please us is what will get them going, then they will sing a tune that will please us. But we need to, as a people, open our eyes. Not only government. I think that government listens to all these partners, but they should pay more attention to what the people are saying also.
Right.
Because we are the ones who are probably either going to benefit or going to suffer as a result of whatever decisions they're making. And so I believe that when we speak, government should listen also. The IMF would want to play down criticisms of the government, but then we ourselves, when we vet the policies, what do we make of the policies?
Right.
Are those the kinds of policies that will get out of the dire situation that we are in,
Right.
with or without the IMF support? And I would want us to look more at what we can get internally, because always when we look out, then when it comes in, it says when you don't work hard for some monies, you spend it frivolously. And so if we are working hard and what we are earning is what we are putting into this economy, I'm sure we'll be more prudent with our spending than just getting and then expecting others to help us pay back what we have collected. And so the taxpayer is always suffering. The taxpayer always has to pay more taxes because we are always borrowing and we have to pay with some interest. If the IMF funds are free, then you probably will be thinking that, well, when these funds come in, whatever they use it for, it doesn't bother me. But it must bother us because whatever they invest the money in should be able to get the monies to pay back what has been collected.
Definitely not free. But thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning, Liz Hayfan-Asari, Deputy Chairperson at the RTI Commission. And right before we get into sports, right before we segue into sports, happy birthday to Al-Hassan Abdullahi. May Allah never forsake you whenever you are in need. Continue to be a wonderful brother. It's from your young brother or your younger brother, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. And he's serving you sports. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for our big stories, and we get into very pertinent stuff. And we start with a conversation on the opposition National Democratic Congress, which is asking the Electoral Commission to abandon plans to make the Ghana card the sole requirement to get on the voters' register. The NDC says the EC is seeking to rig the 2024 elections. Today, we gather the thoughts of political scientists on this. We're joined by Dr. John Osai-Kwapon, CDD Fellow. We also have Dr. Abu Sakara Foster, who is with the National Interest Movement. We also have, representing the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sribo Kweku. He'll be joining us for the discussion as well. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation. I cannot hear from both of you, so I'll pose that question again. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Great. Now I can hear you. Let's start off. Eventually, we'll get Dr. Kweku as well on the line to expatiate as far as the EC is concerned, why they're going down this road. But initial thoughts. I'll start with you, Dr. Osai-Kwapon. Looking at all the dynamics when it comes to the Ghana card and what we've been told about many Ghanaians, numbering over 1 million, if you add those who have not picked up their cards to those who have issues with the cards or those who have not been able to go through the process. And the fact that we're now going to use this as the sole document of resort when it comes to voting per the CI that is to be tabled, what do you make of it?
Good morning. I think we actually discussed this some time back. I also remember being on Newsfile with Dr. Srebro on this very same issue. And I think one of the things that I said was that I know Dr. Srebro was explaining that if they look at the number of Ghanaians who would turn 18 between now and 2024, or who otherwise were not registered but will want to register, their estimation was that between now and 2024, there is quote unquote enough time for them to be able to secure their Ghana card, and therefore it should not necessarily be an issue. One of the things that I said was that you also cannot anticipate all of the administrative issues or challenges that may happen between now and 2024 that may still pose some challenges for eligible voters to be able to secure their Ghana card. And so when you juxtapose that against the fact that voting is also a very fundamental right, then I am of the opinion that the EC can consider some other acceptable form of ID in the event that an eligible voter is unable to produce their Ghana card the moment that they present themselves to be put on the voter roll. And I still maintain that position. I understand what Dr. Srebo was trying to explain that day, which was sometimes some of these voter registration exercises are characterized by quote-unquote mischief on the part of political parties. And so one of the policy objectives in trying to sanitize the process is to cure some of these challenges, is to cure some of these mischiefs that political parties are likely to engage in. So the policy objective is noble. I also understand and I believe in the importance of the Ghana card. But as I've said over and over again, until that system is fully developed, vis-a-vis also the fact that voting is a very fundamental right, I would hope that there's some other form of identification that the Electoral Commission would find acceptable so that an eligible voter can be put on the voter roll so that in 2024 they can exercise that fundamental right to vote.
And so just to comprehend fully what you're saying, from where you sit, you feel unless and until we have a bulletproof, foolproof system where everyone who ought to register has the opportunity to do so, and maybe the person has just refused to do so, then we can categorize people. But until we've put a card in the hand of everybody who qualifies to vote, so from which point we can then take this off, we shouldn't even be approaching this.
Yes, I agree. That's my point, yes.
All right. Let me come to Dr. Abusakara Foster. What is your thinking on same? Your initial thoughts?
Well, I think the first thing is to make it clear that this is not an NDC versus MPP matter or opposition versus ruling government matter. As my good colleague has said, it is a national target. We should aim, the Electoral Commission should aim to have a significant percentage of people who are eligible to vote having the national ID card. You can set that target for yourself. We can say, well, let it be 97% or 80% or whatever percent. But bear in mind that that percentage should not be so much that it can influence the outcome of the election, because we all know that the election is won by less than 2-3%. So we need to be aware that in trying to achieve a fair election, there should not be so many people disqualified or disenfranchised that if they were to vote, the outcome of the election would be different. So as an institution primarily charged with having free and fair elections, that should be our target before we even talk about what a NDC or MPP want the ID card or not. And as my colleague has said, that embodies the fact that it's a fundamental right to vote. So that's the first issue. The next issue is to say, well, what is really the driving force behind this demand to have the ID card as the sole one or not? What are the objectives? One is to ensure that you minimize the fraud. So that is a good thing. We all want that. But behind that, you could also say, although that may not be proven, that in an instance where we know the margin of winning is very small, for a party that has ability to win an election in 2 or 4 regions, it favors them if there's less people registered to vote than a party that needs to win about 10 12 or more regions in order to win an election. And we all know the voting patterns in Ghana. We all know that in certain elections have been won by parties with just 2 regions. So in terms of inclusivity and broadening the representation of the vote, it is important that when a party wins, it has won because it has got the mandate over the entire area of Ghana, not just 3 or 4 regions. So for that reason, it is important that we have as many people all over the country registered to vote and qualified to vote, even if you insist on having the ID card. So that means that you must then set the threshold for allowing the ID card to be the sole instrument at a level where you are sure that nobody is being disenfranchised and that you meet the requirements for a free and fair election. So it's important because people will see this from different perspectives, and we have to ensure that nobody is being left out. And I would say that it is better to err on the side of including another document to make sure we achieve our objective than to preempt the fact that you will achieve that target, and then you pass the LI, you don't achieve that target, and then some people are disenfranchised, and then we spend our time arguing about the outcome of the election.
Interesting points that have been made by the first 2 guests on this matter. Let me bring in Dr. Sribo Kweku, Director, Electoral Services with the Electoral Commission. He joins us via phone. Dr. Kweku, a very good morning to you, sir. Hello, Dr. Kweku.
Good morning, my brother.
It's a pleasure to have you. It's been a while. I hope you're well.
I'm good, and I hope you're also good.
By God's grace, I am. Let's start with this CI, this constitutional instrument. It's a bit hazy right now because we do not know the full details and it's not been laid before Parliament. But what is that crucial issue in that CI when it comes to voters and the use of the Ghana card? Can you just break down, give us a basic understanding?
Okay, thank you very much, and my regards to your listening. I think the first target of the CI is to ensure continuous registration. Let's bear in mind that we have already captured 70 million Kenyans on our register, the register that was used for 2020 election. So by our computation and statistically, about 450,000 people turn 18 each year. So from 2020 to 2024, a time that we will be concluding the register for the 2024 election, we are expecting to add 1.8 people onto the register. So what we are saying that the 1.8 people will be involved in the continuous registration. And we also believe that some
So that's what, 1.8 million people?
Yes, 1.8 million people. So we believe that some of the 1.8 people already have the Ghana card. And if none of them have it, we are expecting that by the 2 years' time that we will conclude the register, these 1.8 people would have acquired the Ghana card. So all that we are saying is that 2 years that is available to you, get your Ghana card, and we will go to the registry office and your name added to the 17 million, which is already there. And what are we trying to get? Or what are we trying to address? Everybody who have been following registrations in Ghana will realize that the tensions that crop up at the registration centers are related to who a Ghanaian is and who is 18. Basically, you will have the political parties, especially NPC, NPP, at each other's throat. You are not a Ghanaian, you are not 18. But we believe that if you have the Ghana card, then that issue is addressed. And once you have the Ghana card, we are doing continuous registration. We will end the registration for 2024 election on the 7th of October 2024. So you have more than 2 years. I'm referring to the 1.8 people. If they don't have the Ghana card already, they have up to October 2024 to get a card and go to the district offices where they want to register and have their names onto the register. The additional one in the CI is that one of the challenges that we have been encountering has to do with the ability to remove names of these people from the register. So once in a while, we say that the register is impotent because we are not able to remove the name of the bill. So this time around, we are also collaborating with the register of birth and death. So on agreed period, they will submit the names of all those who have passed on, and we will remove them from the register. And again, they are saying that they are now establishing unit branches so that they will also compile the names of the people and give it to them. So these names will also be made available to us. Then we will use it to expand their name from the register. So every other thing is the same as the existing CI91.
All right. Thank you for that clarity. So just indulge me here. I just want to confirm. So according to you, and I'll walk you through all of what I've noted down, and you just confirm for me whether everything is correct. Your target through the CI is to ensure continuous registration. Second point, 450,000 averagely turn 18 every year. So per your approximation, about 1.8 million will turn 18 and hence require the Ghana card for registration in the process, which will be culminating on the 2nd of October 2024.
7th October, 7th.
7th October, yes, that's what I said.
No, you said 2nd.
No, I said 7th October 2024.
Then, I'm sorry.
And you say you are expecting that in 2 years' time, which will be 2024, you expect that every Ghanaian who qualifies would have got the Ghana card and then would be able to go through the registration process. Is all of that correct?
Exactly so.
All right. On what basis, on what grounds are you so sure that in 2 years' time, all of them will have the card? Mind you, the NIA has come out time and again, twice now in recent times, to say that they are not operating on any timelines, that their work cannot be bound to any timelines, that they have their own constraints, but they are operating as doing the best with what capacity they have to ensure that Ghanaians who should have the card get the card. I interacted with the PRO, Dr. Ganiyu, and he made mention of the fact that, yes, there are still large numbers that have either not picked up their cards or not gone through the registration process for different reasons, or whose cards don't even register when they are picked up. There's a small group, or who have tried everything but still are not able to get the card. So where is this assurance coming from? My own mother, just to cap off Dr. Srebo Kweku, my own mother, it took her over 2 years, in fact, about 3 years to get her Ghana card through no fault of hers. So how can you guarantee that within 2 years, all these people will get the Ghana cards and will be able to qualify to vote?
Thank you very much. We are not saying what you are saying in a vacuum. We also had a lot of interactions with the NIA. I believe the timeline that you were referring to them was relating to the end of this month SIM card registration. But they were saying that if they have around 2 million to register, that they cannot complete them within the 2 months, 2 weeks or so that is left. The assurance they have given us is that they will be able to address all the challenges that you are listing by the end of this year. So they have about 3 months to go that they can address all these challenges. They were saying that initially a lot of the issues were addressed at the head office or the Airwork Stadium. Now they have decentralized. That they are saying that they are now operating 291 centers in the country, 291 centers in the country. And all these issues will be addressed by the end of this year. So if they are able to address them by the end of this year, that means that we have approximately 2 years again to address it. Nobody is saying they are not challenged. But how serious will we be as a country if we cannot use more than 2 years to address challenges confronting the education of Ghanaians? Then it seems that our issues are serious. And you see, what we should also believe in is that in every life you will fail if you don't plan. And if you are planning based on projection. So the data that we have and the assurance that we have is that all these challenges will be addressed by the end of this year. I'm referring to 2022. Then we have 2 additional years to conclude the registration. So we believe that no matter the challenges, they are surmountable. They can be addressed. And once they are addressed, we move forward.
Dr. Kwaku, so, and I noticed that Dr. Osai Kwapong wanted to come in. Gentlemen, just hold your thoughts. Dr. Abu Sakara Foster, Dr. Osai Kwapong, just hold for me. I want to get some very pertinent matters from Dr. Kwaku before we proceed. So you're telling me that the NIA has given you some guarantees that by the close of this year, many of the constraints, if not all of them, would be addressed, so that we would have just about another 2 years, within which period everybody will be free to register, get their Ghana cards, and get enrolled on the voters register. Is that correct?
And I always want to, in line with the figures we are putting across, we are not talking about Ghanaian, in line with the 1.8 people that we are referring to.
Okay. My next question, why now? Why this push now? Over time, and of course, I would go back to 2008, the second round, which was determined by less than 30,000 votes, going all the way to 10. And how, like Dr. Osai Kwapong has mentioned, this is crucial because elections are lost by, plus or minus.
One vote matters. One vote matters.
Yes. I get that point, which is exactly what I'm saying.
Nobody will be left behind. I can assure you.
Nobody will be left behind.
Exactly.
But that doesn't depend on you, Dr. Kwaku. It depends on the NIA.
Let me give you an answer. That in 2020, when we were planning for the election, we said that everybody will have to be verified. But along the line, we heard that we had about 5,070 people whose biometrics were not properly captured. We allow for manual verification. So we are saying that we want to go by the Ghana card. We are Ghanaians. We appreciate the responsibility given to us. So assuming we are getting to 2024 middle of the year, then, and we hear that there are a lot of people who are not captured. Just a matter of revising the law to allow those people to go through whatever means they want. But these are the people, should be people who have tried to get the registration, and the system is not allowing them. Not those who are Ghanaian, last-minute Ghanaian behavior. The people are there, they are not going there last minute to come and say that apply this. So we appreciate everything. So we will not be so adamant that we know by the projection and the assurance given by the NIA, we are getting closer to the close of the registration, and these challenges are still there. We will then come out with the modality to capture them.
Dr. Kwaku, why start up this process? And the opposition, the main opposition, NDC, is saying that, look, quash this now, even before it's laid before Parliament, because it's problematic. And that is the tangent on which I want to, go. Why give room to revise a law if there could be, serious problems, which could even result in, even if it's one voter who isn't able to vote? Why even go down on this path?
That's what I'm saying, that we should always be patriotic in our activity. Are we happy that non-Ghanaians will come and take part in our elections? Is that what we're looking for? So I believe that...
Do you have proof? Do you have proof? Do you have proof then that non-Ghanaians have been voting? Since this is a claim that the EC has roundly refuted in the past.
Let me give you an instance. You were in Ghana. If you remember, in Banda constituency, there were a lot of fight over there with some funny names. I don't know whether I forgot it. After the compilation of the 2020 election, we arrested 6 people in a particular constituency. 5 of them were jailed within 2 days. Then 54 of them submitted their ID cards to the police that they were deceived into registering. So they brought the cards for us to clear them. Whenever we finish election, as the political parties, we have district registration review committee for each of the districts. And what they do is to help address the challenges with respect to non-Ghanaians and underage people. And we spend days, if not months, to work on all these things. So every year after registration, these things are done, and all the political parties are working.
Let me ask you then. So, like some have posited, we could ensure that we have a foolproof, watertight system ahead of 2028. And people started talking about that. Why? What will it take away if we did not use the Ghana card, which has its problems in terms of getting it into the hands of people, those who qualify to vote, ahead of 2024? We've had a system that has worked for us all the way from 1992. What will it take away if we don't use the Ghana card for this registration?
My question is, why did we move from the opaque ballot box to the transparent ballot box?
Is it the same thing we're comparing here?
To reform our system. We identify the challenges and look at how best to address them. You are saying it has worked for us, but you are forgetting that a lot of people, some of them have lost their lives during registration because they don't trust that the people are qualified. We shouldn't lose sight of what just happened in 2020, just 2 years behind us. So there are issues that we want to address, and we can only address them by trying to insist on something that is more credible than the guarantor system.
You speak about credibility. Let me ask you this. Now, according to Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, the chairman of the NDC, he talks about the fact that the Ghana card is a new feature of our national life and cannot immediately become the only. The word to take note of there only means to identify a Ghanaian only because it plays into the hands of the NPP, whose members are in the leadership of the NIA and the Electoral Commission. Not my words, the words of the chairperson of the NDC. How do you react to these?
I think we are recycling our issues. The issues are that the Ghana card has come to stay. In 2012, a law was passed that anything that needs identification, Ghana card should be used. In 2020, 8 years after that law had passed, we did not use the Ghana card as sole identification because at that time, we knew that we didn't have enough. And even with that, those who registered, we had more than 10 million who used the Ghana card. That is about 50%. And 2 years after, we know that a lot of people have been captured. So we are sure. We are with the politics of who is the rest shouldn't be an issue for us. Well, the most important thing is that we should put in place a mechanism that will enable every qualified Ghanaian to get a Ghana card. And we believe that by 2 years' time, anybody who wants to get a Ghana card or whoever has a problem with a Ghana card will be addressed. And once it is addressed, we move on.
Again, the chairperson, let me just run this by you. He makes mention of the fact that contrary to CI 126 as we have it, it would then mean that the Ghana card would be the sole means of registration, sort of taking aside the Ghana passport, any other national identity card. But then another point he makes is that the second implication, quoting him, is that the regulation flies in the face of Article 42 of the Constitution, which states as follows, quote, every citizen of Ghana of 18 years or above and of sound mind has the right to vote and is entitled to be registered as a voter for the purpose of public elections and referenda. This clearly makes the proposed provision unconstitutional. What it means is that if the CI is passed in its current form, it will not only be unconstitutional, it will radically disenfranchise all those prospective voters who, for no fault of theirs, are unable to obtain the national ID card. So I just want you to reiterate, you can guarantee that everyone who has to vote, the 1.8 million who will be coming on board, will not suffer any disenfranchisement.
I think we all agree that Article 42 is the foundation for the work of the Electoral Commission. And I like the question. Every Ghanaian, what about the non-Ghanaians who are registered? 18 years. What about those who are 18 years who are registered? So we appreciate that we should put in place a mechanism that will allow only Ghanaians, not anybody who presents himself as a Ghanaian, but only genuine Ghanaians, and not about people who say that they are 18 years, but those who are genuinely 18 years, and that is why we are looking for going for the Ghana card. So we want to reinforce Article 42 by allowing only Ghanaians and those who are 18 years to register.
I just want some clarity on this. I posed the question earlier, but I don't think you gave me a straightforward answer. So you're confirming that non-Ghanaians have voted in our elections, even as early as 2020?
No, I think maybe if you heard me, I said that we spend days, if not months, by the district registration review committee to meet the people who oppose or challenge their registration to delete those names. So we have to spend a number of periods of our time to sit with the people who have been challenged to clear their names from the register, which is very tedious. That is what I'm saying. So, and I can't sit here and say that all of them were cleared. I can't sit here and say so. So, when you think that, and even if we talk of Ghana card, it is not proof, but it will reduce drastically those people who are not 18 years and non-Ghanaians who try to register. That's what we are looking for. And we see, why are we going to, are we happy that people who are not Ghanaians will come into our system and come and vote and decide our leaders? You and I, can we go to any other country? If you go to Kenya, I was there waiting for the election. If you don't have their national card, you can't register. If you go to the Francophone countries around us, that's what they call the card and pay. If you don't have the card and pay, you can't register to vote. So why can't we also adopt something that will help us? I don't think that you can move to any of these countries I've mentioned without the identification. Go and say that you are a citizen of that country and go and vote. So let us all help our cause so that Ghanaians will vote for Ghanaian leaders.
Maybe my final bit to you before I let my guests also, if they have any thoughts for you, take you on. I know you are on a time leash, so we don't hold you for too long. Some have also suggested, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, hinted at this at one of the fora at which he spoke, and not too long after, the storm or the wind of using the Ghana card as that source document for voting also came to play. Some have suggested then that it plays into the politics of things and that maybe the EC should have come forth with it, but for the Vice President to start the conversation and for the EC to then latch onto it creates a partisan coloration. How do you respond to that?
I wish you ask all the political parties when the issue of the use of Ghana card started. It started immediately after 2020 election. So we have had a lot of IPAC meetings on this. The draft CI did not come up just recently. We started almost 2 years ago. So it's something that we have been discussing before the Vice President came and made a comment on that. So we are not taking the lead from the Vice President. If it's at all, then he started taking the lead from us. Because as the political party, that when did we start discussing these issues? So they have been there long before this time.
But Dr. Kweku, do you find it problematic that not too long after the Vice President says this, the timing, do you find it problematic? He says it, and then in a spate of months, we're going down this road. Is it unfair for people to say that, look, then there is something amiss?
Maybe you didn't get my explanation. I said that if you ask the political party, we started discussing DCI almost 2 years ago. So it's not a new development that you can align it to the statement of the Vice President. We started long before the Vice President came in to make that statement. So we have our agenda, we have our program that we have been discussing. You can ask the political parties, you can ask Beth and Deto. It's something that we started discussing immediately after the election. It was part of our review program. So we started a long time ago, not now, so that it would be like the Vice President said it, that's why we are doing that. No, we started long before his statement.
What is the EC going to do to prevent any dispute at the end of 2024's election? We've had 2 election or electoral petitions in this country. We've had disagreements about who has won which election and all of that. Analysts will tell you that we don't want to go down that road again because things could escalate. What is the EC then going to do? Assuming everything goes well, what are you going to do to ensure that the results you declare are accepted by everybody?
What EC has to do is work in line with the laws of the country. The EC cannot stop anybody from going to court to challenge the results. As I speak to you, I think we had about 20 challenges to our parliamentary election from both MPP and NDC. Nobody stopped them. But the most important thing that did we do the right thing? So once we do the right thing in line with the law, anybody who wants to challenge can challenge it, because you cannot. It's the right of the person. But the most important thing that the right thing should be done by the Electoral Commission, so that whoever wants to challenge the election will not have the ground to challenge it. So we cannot stop anybody, but we will go by the laws of the country and work according to the law.
Well, Doc, hold for me. I made mention of the fact that was going to be my last shot at you. I want Dr. Osai Kwapong and Dr. Abusakara Foster. I'll start with Dr. Osai Kwapong. Having listened to Dr. Serebour Kwaku, is there any brief comment you have, any reaction, maybe a question that you might want him to answer before we let go of him?
Well, I mean, and he's been very consistent in explaining the EC's position. As I mentioned, these are the same submissions that he made on Newsfile, I think about a month and a half ago, in explaining the position of the EC and the rationale behind this attempt with the Ghana card. And I think that the question I posed to him was that, is it possible that the EC can reconsider and think of an additional form of identification in anticipation of any challenges that the Ghana card process may face in terms of a voter trying to secure one, because we have seen that. But I think he did say that looking at the numbers, 2 years is good enough time for everybody who wants one to get one and be able to register to vote. So, I mean, I get the explanation. I just keep wondering what if, and because we cannot answer the what if, then perhaps if there could be a consideration for at least another form of identification.
Dr. Serebour Kwaku guarantees, he says, you know, the NIA has some 291 centers running. They're working hand in glove with them, that the assurance has been given that by end of year, the NIA will solve most of the, pertinent issues, and that would have a 2-year window. And he says, quote, nobody will be left behind. Is that not assurance enough for you, Dr. Osai Kwapong?
Yeah, oh, yes, it is. But again, administrative processes, you cannot anticipate everything that can either go right or go wrong. So I like the optimism. I'm just wondering if you could have a backup plan just in case. I mean, if everything is foolproof and works fine, then great. But just in case, because like I said, I really do agree and understand the policy rationale. In fact, if you read a report by the Carter Center way back in 2012 on a limited registration exercise that was conducted, you would fully understand why Dr. Serebour keeps saying there's a certain mischief associated with the registration process that needs to be sanitized and cured and cleaned up.
All right, so you agree that there must be a cure. It's just that maybe the cure shouldn't be so quick as of election 2024. That's your problem?
Yes.
Okay. Let me take quick reactions from Dr. Abusakara Foster as well. 1.8 million people estimated to be affected in terms of getting on board the electoral register. Do you have any questions for Dr. Kwaku?
Yes, I think before I ask my question, I should say that 17 million people out of a total of potentially 19.1 million people as of now is a good effort. However, we should bear in mind that between now and 2024, there could be an additional, 1.2 million people added to that, if not more. So the real issue we are talking about is how many people potentially would not have the opportunity to vote because they have not got the Ghana card. That is the real question. And if we focus on that question and not all the other issues, then we may find a way of either solving that problem or ensuring that we provide the leeway needed in case that problem is not solved. So if we are talking about 1.8 million people, I think that it is going to be more than that, because you're talking of that as of now. So by 2024, it could be somewhere in the region of 2.5 going. Now, Between now and then, how do you get these 2.5 million people added? You said you've expanded the number of centers. That is good. And you've said that, you're ensuring that everybody has the opportunity to register. That is good. But the question is, what is the time frame on that? And if the time frame on that takes us all the way to the door of 2024, then it makes more sense to allow for another means of identification. If you can assure people that by the end of 2023, you would have actually captured all of these, then we say, fine, let the CI take effect in 2024 and being contingent on the fact that you have actually achieved that target. For me, this is the issue. Let's not debate and argue in a vacuum. Let's set targets that we will be comfortable with. We know that by the end of 2023, everybody who should have the Ghana card has the Ghana card. So let the CI take effect as of 2024. For me, that is very simple. In addition to that...
So in other words, for clarity, so let's leave 2023 to go ahead with the registration, to go ahead with the Ghana card processes, to ensure that everyone who should have it does have it, and then in 2024, we can put the CI forward before Parliament, knowing that everyone is catered for. That's what you're saying.
Well, that is one way. The other way is to say that, okay, even if you pass it, it is contingent on these targets being met. And if they are not met, this other instrument will be admissible as identification. So you give yourself that room to operate instead of putting yourself in a corner. And at the end of the day, maybe possibly a situation where people can say, look, I didn't get a chance to vote. Those people can well come to the polling station and raise havoc as well. So I think that we need to preempt that and have clear targets set. We cannot just rely on a process that keeps going on endlessly. There should be some cutoff points. So for me, the cutoff point in 2023 to make sure that if it is 91.5% or 99.2% or 99.99% of the total number of registered voters that you set as your target, set it so we can then assess whether it's been achieved. He's able to tell us now that 17 million people are registered. So similarly, they should be able to tell us somewhere in 2023 how many of that potential 2.5 million people have now been captured. And if there's an insignificant number of them left, then you have the leeway to pass the instrument or for the instrument to take effect. That way, we're not at each other's throats just because of deciding somebody wants it and somebody doesn't want it. We should be clear, we all want it, but we want it under circumstances where the objective of everybody who can vote being able to vote is achieved.
Okay.
And that is a journey that we have to take, and we should be very clear in the way we approach that.
Dr. Kwaku, I believe you're still with us.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. I will give you the opportunity to offer some quick reactions to them, but my substantive questions with which I'm going to close the conversation and then go back to them are two. One, yes, the August House of Parliament is due to resume. When will this CI be laid before Parliament? What is the projection? And what is the expectation of the EC in terms of its approval, so to speak?
Thank you very much. Let me answer your question, then I will go to the comments from your two guests. First, we have already met the Parliamentary Subsidiary Legislative Committee, explain our TI to them. Thereafter, they referred to the Budget Committee, which we are made to understand that it comprises the leadership of the various committees in Parliament. We have also met them. So the next step is that immediately we've also submitted it to the Attorney General Department for the drafters to draft it professionally. They have done that one too. So we are expecting that when Parliament resumes, we'll lay it before them. So immediately Parliament resumes, the draft is ready and we'll lay it before Parliament.
Okay, so immediately Parliament resumes, the draft is ready. You lay it before Parliament, immediately it resumes.
Exactly so.
All right. Right.
And we know that when we lay it, all things being equal, within 21 sitting days, it should pass. So once it passed, then good. Then coming to Dr. Foster.
So my apologies. You say within 21 sitting days, you are hoping it will be passed. You know about the dissenting views of Parliament, and you know about the numbers in Parliament as well. The opposition is saying they don't subscribe to this. You're still hopeful that this will see, the light of day.
That is our expectation.
Right.
Then come to Dr. Foster. Maybe you didn't get my figures right. I said that every year, 450,000 people will turn 18. So as of now, our projection is that 2 years after the 2020 registration, we are expecting that 900,000 people matured into 18 years. Then, given 2024, but that's 4 years after, 4.5 times, 450 times 4 will be 1.8. So the 1.8 I was referring to is by the time that we put the register in 2024, not right now. So our projection is that we have 1.8 people to add up to the register by the time we put the register in 2024. Again, the reason why I'm referring to the 7th October 2024 is that in the CI, it is saying that it is continuous registration, meaning that any time you are ready, you can go to our district office to register. But the caveat is that if you register less than 60 days to an election, then you will not be part of that particular election, even though you be registered. Because we need to close the register and prepare the provisional register for the political parties and others. So if you get your name onto the list less than 60 days to an election, you cannot be part of that particular election. That's why we are referring to it. Then again, he was saying that
again, I'm sorry I'm interjecting, but what does that mean? Does that mean that so up to around October the 7th,
correct,
everybody who wants to vote should have registered, because then you have November the 7th, December the 7th, which would be 60 days. Does it mean that anyone who registers after October the 7th will not qualify to vote? That is 2024.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
That is what is in the law.
Right. Please go ahead.
Yes. Again, so we are doing continuous registration. So from what he's saying that you can now activate control registration 2024, it's still the same thing. Because we are doing continuous registration. So what we are saying is that any time you get your the card, up to 7th October, you can go and register. So if he's saying that you can activate the law in 2024, it is the same issue that we are talking about. I mean that the time that he's talking about will still be part of the time that anybody can register. So we are saying that once the law is passed, we roll it out, and everybody has more than 2 years to get a Ghana card. Once you get a Ghana card, you go to the center, you are no added. So I think that addresses the concern by your two.
Any final words before you take leave of us, Dr. Kweku?
Come again?
I'm asking Dr. Kweku, any final words before you take leave of us?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that is planning. We plan based on projection. So my question to anybody who has a doubt is that what happens if NIA is able to capture everybody as planned? Then the issue of disenfranchisement will not be argument. So we believe in the system that we are planning around those projections, that everybody who wants to register will have gotten the card before we close our register in October 7th, 2024. So once that is achieved, then all these arguments will be moved.
My apologies. Something else came to mind. I just might, if you would oblige me. Now that the NDC is still not on the IPAC, and you talk about how some of these discussions have been, tabled at the IPAC and all of that, do you have any plans of engaging them as they've started raising these concerns about the CI before this escalates to another level? Is there any other approach that the EC is thinking of using to engage the NDC and maybe other opposition parties on the back of this?
No, I think with the exception of NDC, all the other parties are part of the IPAC that have been voting. And NDC, even though they have not physically attended the meeting, anytime we finish our meeting, we send them the minutes. And we also look ahead of time. So it's a part of the law that when the law is passed, we'll then meet a committee made up of the political parties and us and we call it the modality committee. And that modality committee will now discuss and plan the details of how the consultation will be done. That's why we have written to them. They have already nominated there's somebody to serve on that. So they will be part of the modality, which will now talk about the details of how the registration is done. You can't put everything there here. So the easy I just giving you what I've said. Then we'll come out with details. When do we start registration? Who qualifies to be there? Who will be the agent? All these things will be discussed and for the modality. And they have already nominated somebody. So we'll get there.
Dr. Kweku, we're immensely grateful.
Dr. Kweku.
Who's on the line? Who's speaking, please?
Abu Sakara Foster.
Is it directed at Dr. Kweku?
Yes, indeed.
Dr. Kweku. Dr. Kweku. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
If it takes only 21 days to lay and pass the instrument, what would be wrong with waiting until 2023, last quarter, and give us the definitive figure of how many people you have actually got registered now as a percentage of the people eligible to vote, and say that now that we've achieved this, then we will pass this instrument and it will be passed before the end of 2023. What is wrong with that process, as opposed to anticipating that you will have done it and therefore you want it passed now? That is really the difference in the question that I posed.
Any reaction, Dr. Kweku?
Yeah, so it's like what I've said already. We are saying that we have up to October to compile the register. And I think I said it again, that the projection is that by the end of this year, they will have addressed all the challenges. Even if they are not able to address, they have 2 more years to address them. Unless somebody is saying that the challenges are not surmountable, which we don't believe. We believe that they are surmountable. That is why we have 2 years plus to get your name onto the register. So no matter the challenges, we'll go around the challenges. And by the time that we close the register in 2024, you will still be there. It's not the issue of maybe like previous time that we set date and the date expires, you cannot get your name on it. Once you open for continuous, it is going to be open up to October 2024. So whether you pass the law now or pass the law 2024, that's talking of, it will still be the same story because you have to get your name on it before the close of October 2024. So it will not make any difference.
Dr. Kweku, we're immensely grateful for your time. Dr. Shrebo Kweku is Director, Electoral Services with the Electoral Commission. Thank you, sir. He joined us for the conversation. I'll take your summary comments to wrap, a minute each maximum, and we can take it from there. Dr. Osai Kwapong, wrap-up comments?
Well, we can only hope that everything will go on smoothly and well. I know that there are still some unresolved issues, tensions between the NDC and the EC. I'm also hoping that those will get resolved before we get to 2024, because ultimately, I'm sure we all agree that we want an electoral system with integrity that we can all place strong faith in. So. He's explained the position of the EC. I hope that it turns out, his optimism is right, and it turns out the way they are hoping it will turn out.
Dr. Abu Sekara Foster, I see you still have concerns.
Well, my fundamental issue is that instead of passing the law and hoping you achieve the target, why don't you wait till you achieve the target and then pass the law? And if you're confident that it takes only 21 days to pass the law, well, you can do it in the last quarter of even 2023 or even first quarter of 2024. So why incur the rancor when by just adjusting yourself, you can present us with a result? This is the result. I've achieved my target. I'm now passing the law. Nobody can argue against that. But to say, I hope I'm going to achieve my target, I want to pass the law now, that is the substantive question. So I think that we should be clear. And we should also be very clear that we are not against the objectives of the EC. We do want a system where people who are non-Ghanaians don't vote in our elections. We want an issue where fraudulence is removed from the electoral register. We want an election where people who have died are removed from the electoral register. So we're in support of all those things. What we're talking about now is the possibility of a window of a number of people who may be disenfranchised. So why don't we wait until we have ensured that the number is insignificant, and we have now finished the very commendable job that we have done. We have so far achieved 17 million. Maybe by then we'll have 90 million. And then say, based on this, we're passing the CI. And we will still have the whole of 2024 to pass that CI. What is wrong with that?
Right. Gentlemen, we're immensely grateful that you took the time to join us. You just heard Dr. Abu Sakara Foster, founder of the National Interest Movement, a think tank. And we also had joining the conversation CDD fellow Dr. John Osai Kwapong. We're grateful, gentlemen.
Welcome. Thank you.
Right. So moving on from that conversation, two crucial issues we're bringing your way next after the break. The first one would be taking you to the central region where the Tufuhin of Ekumfi Akwakrom has also been apprehended, apart from that pastor, in that dastardly act which led to the death of a 22-year-old nursing trainee. We'll take you to the central region for that. After that, we'll take you to the Upper West region, Wa to be specific, to get the latest on the developments there on the back of those killings of security officers. All of that right here on the AM show after the break. Stay.
Good morning, you're welcome back to the AM show. Now, we're starting from the central region where the police have arrested the second suspect in Mankasim. And the second suspect is the Tufuhini of the Ekumfi Akwakrom, whose house the body of the 22-year-old prospective trainee nurse was exhumed. Now, this brings you to the arrest made in connection with this case. And then we'll also be in Wa for an update on the security situation there. I have correspondent Richard Kojunyako there. Richard, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I want you to, for the benefit of people who don't know the story, take us back and... Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so for the benefit of people who don't know the story, can you please just give us a wrap of that story?
Okay, so the deceased, Georgina Asoboche, is aspiring to be a nurse trainee, so she is not in the nursing training college yet. So she traveled from Yeji to the Ankafo College of Nursing for an interview. But before she did that, the sister had a boyfriend, and the pastor in question, we are told, is the sister's boyfriend. The sister has taken this pastor to the family, introduced himself to the family. So the sister said, so once you are coming to Cape Coast, my boyfriend says that he's around Cape Coast. So when you go there, you can go and see him. And so after the interview, the sister said the pastor called and said that, okay, I was coming to pick you. Incidentally, during the interview, Georgina Asoboche, the deceased now, confided in someone she knew from the same place and said that my sister's boyfriend is coming to pick me. So after the pastor allegedly picked Georgina went missing for 3 weeks. And for 3 weeks, there were notices on social media, in other places, announcing that Georgina Asoboche has not been found for the past 3 weeks. And so in the ensuing process, the person Aso confided in allegedly said that, well, the last time Aso was seen, he said that she was going to be picked up by the sister's boyfriend. And so that led the police to arrest the pastor. Upon interrogation, the pastor is alleged to have confessed that indeed Aso was kidnapped and a ransom of about 15,000 was demanded of the family. The family was unable to pay that ransom, and so Aso was sexually molested, killed, and buried in the chief's house. And to confirm what he had told the police, he led the police to the apartment of the chief. That is the second suspect in this matter. And so they exhumed the body of Aso, and the body of Aso has been deposited at the Mankasim, at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital now. So that is all that we know about it. As for the chief, the identity and his whereabouts, where he is from, the people of Mankasim know because he has an apartment, and it's the apartment that Aso was buried in. And he is the Tufuhin of Ekumfi Aquacrum. And so that is what we do know. For the pastor's identity, we do not know the church, the pastors, and then we do not even know his name. So it's left for the police to tell us, give us more information. But the police have not been forthcoming with information on this matter. And so this morning, we hear that the police prosecutors are preparing to put the two suspects in their custody before courts, where maybe they may be pleading for more time to allow them to investigate thoroughly this matter before the case could proceed.
All right. Now, Richard, what's the mood like in Mankasim currently?
Well, so the people were shocked. They were surprised. They couldn't come to terms with the fact that someone in the stature of a Tufuhin, a chief, would do that. And so they were shocked. And what they have been saying is that the people, they should put the law aside and then submit them or subject them to some street law where they would strip them naked and then walk them through the principal street of Mankasim to serve as a deterrent, because nothing like that, it is unspeakable, it is unthinkable for anybody to visit such kind of pain on any other person.
And have you spoken to the nurse's family, and what are they saying?
Well, so yesterday we spoke with the nurse's family and they are dumbfounded. They said that the man came and even tried extorting money from them when Aso took him or introduced him to them. And so they mentioned an amount of about 30,000 to do something for them, but that did not materialize. And that is all that we know of the relationship between the family and then the first suspect that was arrested, the pastor. So we do not know whether he's a self-styled pastor or it is a known church or some of these known churches that he pastors. But all that we have been told is that he is a pastor. So we are yet to know the kind of church this man pastors and all of that. But the church, the family is broken. In fact, they are shattered. They can't come to terms with what's happening to them.
Richard, before I let you go, I'm looking at your online story here, and Cephas Arthur, who's the assemblyman for the area, has urged the IGP to increase security in Mankasim and the surroundings. He claims that this is not the first time that something like this has occurred, and he said that, and I quote, "This is the fifth occurrence of this kind of incident this year. I'm requesting that the police ensure justice is served and the chief and pastor are brought to justice." Can you tell us more about the 4 other occurrences or incidents? Do you know anything about that?
So, Maps, so it's a huge concern. Mankasim is a huge marketing center as far as this country is concerned. In the central region, it stands tall in terms of marketing. So people come there, they trade, and there are a lot of people. So it is not all of them that are Mankasim that are resident, but a lot of people.
Okay, it seems like we have lost Richard Korjonyaka. They will try and get him back. But he was telling us about other incidents that have happened, because according to the assemblyman there, this is the 5th occurrence of such in that town. So Richard Korjonyaka, let me come back to you. We lost you for a bit.
Yes. Maps, yes. So assemblyman has been expressing this concern because the security in Mankasim is not the best. It's not been the best. They've witnessed this 4, 5, 6 times, he even indicated. And so he was appealing to the IGP to ensure that the security of Mankasim is really a top-notch one so that they wouldn't be witnessing such occurrences. You know, it is the same Mankasim that unfortunately, the MP for the Infantiman area died about 2-3 years ago, and so it sparked some security concerns as well. So it's been some kind of a fluid situation as far as Mankasim is concerned, and so he has been calling for the security chiefs to do something about it.
All right, so what about police visibility? How's the security situation there right now as we speak? Have you seen more policemen on the ground?
Well, so today, police prosecutors say they are preparing to put the 2 suspects before the courts.
Okay. Okay, we keep losing Richard Kojo-Nyako there. But so far he's told us that the 2 suspects will be heading to court this morning, and he'll bring us updates as and when he can. Richard, we lost you just before you leave. I want to know about police visibility. Okay, he's gone again. So that's Richard Kojo-Nyako giving us an update on that Mankasi murder. We know that the second suspect involved in the kidnapping and killing of a 25-year-old woman has been arrested. And that is a chief who allegedly aided the pastor to kidnap, sexually assault and kill the aspiring trainee nurse. Let's go to Wa now, and joining me via Zoom is correspondent Rafiq Salam. Rafiq, good morning.
Good morning, my pleasure.
Now, okay, so what can we report so far?
So far, I can report you that the Wa community is now calm, cool after a busy 3 days visit by the Inspector General of the Ghana Police Service and also the Interior Minister, Ambrose Adere. We've seen deployment of police forces at every junction, every road intersection, and also to the nook and cranny of the Wa municipality. Remember, the police administration have deployed 305 policemen, and the municipality has also received the first consignment of 60 motorbikes. The first consignment of 60 motorbikes are in the municipality to beef up security operations. And so in Wa now, calm, there's uneasy calm now in Wa.
But have you been speaking to some of the residents? What are they saying? As much as you say that there's calm in Wa, but what are the residents saying?
The residents are really happy with the deployment, but they want it. They want the security personnel to be positioned at a particular location. Majority of them to be around the Koguri Estate or the Nepobukule extension. These are the areas that are the suspected murders are taking place. Let me tell you that this incident that we are recording is not in the whole of Wa. It started somewhere around Kelio, moved to Chere, and then to Kumbie, and then also to the Nepobukule enclave. It's lying around the belt, the southwestern part of Wa. So what residents are saying that they will be pleased if these police deployment should be in that particular area more than the heart of the Wa municipality. But there's also one concern that the residents are also talking about. It has to do with street lights in the Wa municipality. You know, most of the street lights are not functioning, and the town is always dark. And so they are raising a lot of concerns, right, talking about the security. But that was also raised when President Ekubado came into town, when he made the overload of the water transit area. They talk about this street lighting system, which they think make the people insecure. And so the president told them that they have acquired, or the ICC has procured about 3,000 street light bulbs to be kept in some streets in the township, and that will really help. And so what the residents are now urging is that they want the ICC to speed up the procurement process so that these bulbs will be acquired for them to use. And so generally, this is what is happening in the municipality. But let me also tell you that the police administration, after the IGP left, are not resting on their own. They have also mapped Wa into 4 zones. Zone A, B, C, D. In terms of priority, Zone A is where the citadel, is the den of the suspected criminal activities around the Pobokule Ogru extension. And so that's how they have zoned Wa into, so that they can be able to tackle the security situation in the one municipality.
Talking about tackling the security situation in the municipality, police visibility, have you seen them so far?
Yes, the police are largely visible wherever you go. As I told you earlier, every intersection, every road, every junction in what you could see these policemen spotted around there. Just some 300 meters away from where I'm talking. I'm speaking to you from my home, so my holy community, Limayiri. Just about 300 meters away from Limayiri is Kaukuri Junction. You can spot at least 3 policemen stationed around that area. Whichever junction that you move to, there are policemen around that area. And even, let me even tell you, the presence of the police is much of a concern to the residents. For them, they think that they are stopping them unnecessarily. And so wherever you go in what, there are police visibility right there.
All right, so I wanted to backtrack a bit to the IGP's visit for a benefit of people who haven't been following the story. What did the IGP exactly say?
The IGP, the police administration, their style is now that they don't talk a lot, only issue a statement. But I can report to the when he came, he met the Upper Minister, closed doors, and then after that, met the overlord of the Wallet traditional area. And then later, he also engaged the overlord and some senior chiefs in the traditional area, closed door. And then after that, he interacted with the public. The IGP has been assuring the people of what the police administration has been doing, giving them secret tips on what they are doing, at least to contain the situation. The IGP also visited some all districts and municipalities in the Upper West region in 24 hours. We have never seen any IGP visiting the Upper West region able to touch base with not only the district capitals, but some bigger communities, a place like Walembele, a place like Hambele, and then so many places which were not even the district capital. The IGP went there. He even took part in the patrols in the night in the region to see how things are going. And then lastly, he ended at the regional police headquarters. Construction started over 8 years ago, and they have not been able to complete that project, which is much of a concern to the IGP. And so he thinks that he will do everything possible to ensure that the headquarters is constructed.
Before I let you go, Rafiq Salam, do we know when the suspects will be heading to court?
For now, we haven't gotten any information after that, but I think that he will be arraigned for court soonest.
Please just repeat, I didn't hear you.
We have no information as to when he will be taken to court, but we are told from the sources from the police that he will be taken to court in the next few days.
All right, thank you very much. That's Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam. Give us an update on the war killings. We know that there's been an increased police visibility after the IGP's visit, and also the suspects will be heading to court sometime soon. We're yet to get the information. Also, just gone by, I spoke to Richard Kojanyako, who's correspondent Richard Kojanyako, and he was giving me an update of the Mankasim murder. We know that a pastor was arrested for aiding a chief to kidnap, kill, and secretly bury a trainee nurse. According to sources, Nana Clark, who's also the president of the Mankasim Traders Association, and his accomplice kidnapped the nurse after engaging in sexual acts with her. They then killed her and buried her in one of the chief's apartment. The pastor was arrested in Cape Coast and admitted to the crime. He then led the police to the chief's residence where the victim's body was exhumed. So there had been reports in Mankasim announcing Ms. Asor was missing. Residents are also requesting that police ensure that justice is served after expressing their surprise and outrage at the incident. Many residents, or at least most of the residents, are questioning how on earth will a chief get involved in such a horrible act. That is what one resident asked, and they are very shocked, and they're actually surprised and fear for their lives because they don't know what will happen to them. So those are some of the things that we've been discussing now with my correspondents, and they've been giving me some updates. Let's go to Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry, who's the president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, to talk about the Mankasim murder. Doc, good morning. Thank you so much for your time.
A very good morning to you and our listeners. Can you hear me clearly? Your line is a bit thin.
Okay, I'll try to speak loud. Can you hear me? Yours is loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So now I want us to discuss the Mankasim murder. I mean, I'm sure you have followed that story. So now this is a pastor and a chief, right? And from your point of view, what would make someone commit such a crime?
Well, several reasons. I am a mental health professional. I can only speak from my point of view.
Yeah.
As a mental health professional.
Yeah.
And most of the time, when people are mentally unstable, they can't be involved in such crimes such as these. Although data shows that people who are mentally unwell are more victims of these crimes than the perpetrators themselves.
Okay.
And on a few occasions, we've had people who are going through mental disorders that have not been treated, that also become perpetrators of crimes like these. And it's for various reasons, especially when people experience what we call paranoia, or what we call paranoid delusions of persecution. What this means is that they get wrong beliefs or false beliefs that another person will want to harm them or want to attack them or want to kill them or even destroy their reputation. So in an attempt to defend themselves, to defend their reputation and protect their own life, they would rather attack you first, or they would rather kill you first. They will not sit down for you to come and kill them. And there are some people who are going through untreated mental conditions that also hear voices. And these voices are hallucinating voices that constantly tell them that Mr. A, Mr. B, or this person is planning to come and kill you. So again, in an attempt to protect their own life, they'll go ahead and kill you first before you kill them. And then there's another mental condition, and it's more of a personality disorder, which we call the antisocial personality disorder. Especially for antisocial personality disorder, some people think that it is just bad or moral behavior that has been tagged with a mental diagnosis. But indeed, now still recorded as a mental disorder. These people are those who go against any social norm. So many people, in fact, basically saying that more than 50 people who are in prison have antisocial personality disorder. They are most of them are armed robbers, most of them are rapists. They just go against the societal norm. So they are anti-society, they are antisocial, and they are usually involved in a lot of crimes. So by their virtue of their personality, they just want to inflict pain. They just on other people. They just want to go against social norms. They just want to break rules that are around them. So these are some of the reasons that can count for such crime and such situation, the mental health point of view.
All right, so Doc, I wanted to talk about mental health, right? I mean, you see the stats, and most of the people, for example, who commit suicide are men. Okay, so that's one. The second one is that most of the people who commit these atrocious crimes are men. That's number two. Number three is that most of the people who are maybe like pressured in society are men. So what is the connection here when it comes to mental health?
What's the third one?
So let's stick with the first two. The first one is that stats show that most men commit suicide as compared to women, and then the second one is that most men, or it's men who commit these atrocious crimes more than their women counterparts. What is the problem here?
There is a little twist to the first one. When it comes to suicide, more women attempt suicide, but more men succeed.
Okay.
And, basically for the reason that when men do attempt suicide, they use more lethal means. Women will use means that are possible to reverse, that do not kill them quickly. And so someone may find them and their life will be saved. So in reality, more women attempt suicide than men, but more men die from suicide. And when it comes to the crime and atrocity, yes, by the virtue of the boisterous nature and adventurous nature of men, they would be involved and indulge more in such crimes. So it is not so surprising. It's by virtue of the biological makeup of male as against female, how men are more adventurous, they are risk-taking people, and so you will not be surprised that they will be more involved in such atrocities.
So what does that mean? Even with the second one, it's because men are more adventurous or men are more daring, and if they commit to something, they'll commit to it fully. So if they are beating you, they will beat you to death, instead of like women wouldn't, maybe physically they can't, you know, fight their counterparts.
That contributes partly to it. Then again, there's that issue of substance misuse. Some of these atrocities are committed under the influence of substances, including alcohol. And when people are under the influence of some of these substances of abuse, their sense of judgment is greatly impaired. Men indulge themselves in substances of abuse. If they are going on a rampage, they are under the intoxication of one substance or the other.
Yeah.
Those substances are psychoactive. It impairs their level of judgment. It impairs their level of empathy. And then they can't be bothered, they don't care anymore. So that influence of substances sometimes play a role in these crimes and atrocities, especially in men, because men are more prone to abuse.
All right, so let's go back to the Mankasim murder story. When you're looking at the story, and I mean, obviously you don't have like, you know, the analysis and you haven't spoken to the suspects, but from reading the story, from watching the videos, would you say that there's some sort of like a mental disorder associated with these people, or what would you say, what's your take on that?
You rightly said, by the ethics of our practice, you don't have any judgment, even if it's collectory, until you have processed to examine the patient and assess the patient, be able to come out with some tentative diagnosis or a final thing. So I would not be able to say whether this is just a behavioral problem or this is something that has to do with mental health.
Okay, so now, Doc, how do we manage mental health in the country? You know, when we speak about mental health, it's a very broad conversation. And when we speak about mental health in Ghana, people are, or if you say you're depressed, you have anxiety, or maybe you have like some sort of mental health illness, you are laughed at, you know, you are mocked. How do we like now manage or educate people on this?
It's still a big issue, not just in Ghana, but in many other African countries. The stigma that is associated with mental illness makes it difficult for people to get help. And the stigma is from all of us, you know, but at the end of the day, if we keep stigmatizing against people with mental disorders, they do not go for help early. At the end of the day, it comes back to us. You know, people would commit one crime or the other. People come with difficulties in the house because of their own treatment disorders. They cannot find or maintain a job. Or even if they are in the job, you have employed them. They are only present, what we call presenteeism, and output is nil. You know, so it comes back to us. So until as a people we change our reception, we change our perception about mental disorders and become more receptive and empathetic towards such people, then it will not move forward in terms of some of these things. And fortunately, mental health, I mean, National Health Insurance is trying to enlist mental health disorders from the scheme. And so soon, people can get mental health for by their health insurance and all that. That is one big step forward in this country in terms of our mental health. But aside that, as a people, let us welcome people with mental disabilities. If you are an employer, for instance, you don't just sack an employee who has willingly come up to say that, oh, I go to a psychiatric hospital for my reviews, or I visit this psychiatrist for my reviews. And we should be able to give them job reassignments or structure their roles such that time is given to them to go for their reviews, go for their medications. Let us be interested in them. I have talked about employee assistance program that should be part of every institution where mental health, emotional and psychological health of employees are important for the employer, to the employer, that they would not just be interested in making money, letting the person. There'll be structured programs that people will go for assessment. You don't wait till you break down, but there'll be a regular check on people so that we pick some of these symptoms early and be able to give support. I always talk about our holiday culture in this country. Most of the people who work for themselves never go on a leave. If you have a shop at Makola or any big shop in Accra or the center of Accra, aside Sundays that the person will not open the shop, they are working Monday to Saturday all year through. What time do you take off to get some rest? So people should also develop that holiday culture, that culture of resting and breaking away from all the stresses of life. Because whether we like it or not, in this world, there will be stresses. So it is our responsibility to take care of us, to take care of ourselves, and break away from the stress from time to time. Forgetting about the money we fear to lose during those periods. But go and revitalize, rejuvenate, and come back and continue away. That way, we all will be in better mental health all year.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ruth Osu-Entry. She's the president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, and we're talking about mental health, relating it or linking it to the Mankasim murder, if maybe we might spot something there. But let's go to the phone line. Peter Tobu, who's a member of the Interior Committee of Parliament, joins me. Good morning, sir, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, my dear sister. I don't want to get your name right or wrong, but can you just pronounce it for me?
Mapito Sibidi.
Mapito Sibidi. Please, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Great.
So as an MP and a policeman, what do you make of the security situation in Wa?
Thank you very much. Let me say good morning to our cherished listeners. As an MP, I'm a former policeman. I'm no longer a police officer. I just have that experience for 25 years, and I think that it's the building block that, based upon what that I sometimes speak about security matters in the country. What is happening in Wa? I think if you look at the history of this country, there are several instances where we have serial murders, and then with time it fades away. There are several instances where we have murders that remain unresolved. There are several instances that we have some security challenges emerging that look so strange to the people and so strange even to the security industry. There are several instances that the modus operandi of a criminal becomes something that the police need to study and understand before they design a strategy to deal with it. What is happening in Wa now, it's very clear that from the few bodies that has been recovered, that it is serial ritual murder. It is serial ritual murder, and people will need to understand that all of us as a people must believe that this offends the collective conscience of all of us. And we must rise to say no to it. No, because we want to empower the police to do what they have been trained to do. And we want to empower the police, believing that as citizens, it is our responsibility to support the police to perform. And we call that one collective security responsibility. So what is happening in Wa is quite disturbing, but it is not just the Wa that is important. It's the fact that it's happening in a part of Ghana with the potential of cascading to other parts of this country. So let's look at it as a Ghana problem and not an Upper West problem. So we provide a solution that is nationalistic and national in character. That we look at it as, if you solve it in Wa, you stop it from going to Tamale. You stop it from emerging in Accra, and gradually Ghana will remain peaceful, because the threat of the peace and security of this country can begin in a single corner that unexpectedly we take for granted.
So you mentioned two things, empowering the police and also solutions. So let me start with empowering the police. How do we empower the police as citizens?
Thank you very much. Policing is driven by intelligence. And that is why on many occasions, if you read the police statement, they will tell you intel-led policing.
Yeah.
The police officers you find in public, the optics are right and they are performing and getting results because they are being driven by that fuel we call intelligence. And intelligence is basically about putting information together and analyzing and arriving at intel. So when you have a lot of information, very credible information from the general public, you put them in a pool and you have experts to analyze the info. When you analyze the info, you arrive at very credible intelligence. And when the police are driven by that intelligence, they will never fail and they will always be performing at meeting the expectation of the general public.
Yeah.
If we want to empower our police, we as politicians, and we are all civilians, please, let's look at what they need. Policing is a science, it's emerging, it's changing. And what we used to do in 1970, if you bring the 1970 style to 2022, you have a lot of unresolved criminal cases hanging on our neck. Policing has become so scientific that the police will require what it takes to analyze a scene of crime and connect individual that has ever come across that scene. You know, in science, what is we call it forensic science. In forensic science, you cannot be present at a particular scene of crime and live without leaving a contact.
Okay.
Whatever it is, even DNA will show that you were ever there. You were once there. Technology will show that there was a particular phone number at that material moment at that place.
Yeah.
So when you put all these things together, the police will be up and doing. And I'm sure that all of us will be happy that we have a police service that is functioning well. And democracy is all about policing. Internal security is all about policing. So when the police meet the expectation of the public with our own support, at least all of us will feel peaceful.
All right, so you mentioned solutions, right? If we stop it in Wa, we stop it in Tamale, we stop it in Mankesim, we stop it in other areas of Ghana.
Yes.
What solutions are you suggesting?
Three things. One, we look at the problem triangle. Many police scientific approaches. It's a problem triangle that we use. The problem triangle says, look at the suspects that are getting involved in these things.
Okay.
Is it possible you can have information to get them arrested? If you arrest the killers, the crime will die off. Number two, if you cannot arrest the killers, they are always eluding the police. Where are they killing? Where is this crime being committed? What time is it being committed?
Yeah.
How is it being committed? If you understand these dynamics, you try to prevent the crime from being committed at those places. So we call it location strategy.
Okay.
They are killing watchmen. They kill them somewhere in the night from 12 midnight going.
Yeah.
And these watchmen, sometimes they sleep off midnight and somebody will just go and kill them and carry them away.
Yeah.
So is it possible that for police visibility to be enough within the vicinity at that particular moment, probably from 8 p.m. to the next morning,
Okay.
that it is not possible for a criminal to have time and space to commit a crime without the policeman seeing him or her? The third one is, we call it, you have the location strategy, we have the victims, and there is something. You see, if you look at what is happening, the victims that are involved, do they have any personal security training? Do they have any orientation? An old man about 70 years who carries his bicycle gets to a shop and sleeps in front of the shop. If something happens to him in the night, or even he suspects that a crime is about to be committed, can he relay that information to the police? Sometimes you find out that the old man, one, he doesn't even have a phone. Number two, if he even has a phone, and you ask him, what is the police emergency number in case there's a problem? He doesn't even know.
Yeah.
So you see that the victim itself is exposing himself to danger. So all these things, we'll talk about the victim. Well, let's do something about the victim to be conscious of the environment, connect the victim to the police if there is a case or there is a need. Let's make sure that the location is not favorable for any criminal to commit a crime. And let's ensure that we get enough information to track down the suspect. If you put these things together in a multifaceted approach, I'm sure that in the next month, we will see some green light at the end of the tunnel.
All right, so I want us to go to, move away from one, come to Mankesim. I'm sure you're aware of that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So an assemblyman for the area has urged the IGP to increase security in Mankesim and its surrounding area. And he's also claiming that this is not the first time something like that has occurred in the area. He said that this is the 5th occurrence of this kind of incident this year. And he's requesting that the police ensure justice is served and the chief and pastor are brought to justice. Would you like to say anything about that and the Mankesim situation?
Thank you very much. I think that I want to thank the Mankesim people for being up to the task in terms of providing relevant information to the security agencies to act. What is happening is that anytime you find something that is emerging and is beginning to have a trend, you see, the police need to have what we call modus operandi analysis cell. That modus operandi analysis cell pick all these pieces, because before you realize it has happened, and before you realize another one has happened, it becomes a trend. When you analyze a trend, you make projections to see what you can do, what strategy to put in place to stop it from happening again. But once it happens, you are investigating to see those who committed it so that you can get them arrested. But how do you prevent it from happening again? It requires some kind of innovative programs to be put in place by the police so that you ensure that if the criminal is smart, the police should be smarter. And that is the only time you will stop the criminal from performing, or in other words, committing the next crime. So, well, it is something that is emerging again. It is all about murder.
Yeah.
What are we doing as Ghanaians? What are we doing to understand the challenges that police faces in terms of unraveling these mysteries? I think that we are beginning to get too many unresolved murders. We are beginning to get too many cold cases. And we should look at it with a national picture. What can we do as a nation under His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo that this matter must be resolved and the police must be brought up to the level that they require to be able to perform effectively, to stop these things, nip them in the bud, or else it's not good for us, very particularly when we find ourselves in a region where terrorism is threatening us, knocking at our door every day.
Peter Chubu, thank you so much for your time. He's a member of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, and in that conversation. But before we go, how about treating your family to a summer holiday in Come journey to South Africa for a good time in our beautiful country. Get to know the locals and our languages. If you're looking to let your hair down and relax, or you're just in the mood for some fun, family-friendly adventures, South Africa has got everything you need. This summer, Wazanila and experience a holiday worth talking about. Well, hello Ghana, happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks and Awake Drinking Water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780# and you press option 2 and follow the prompts on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. Don't waste time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water. And let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Characters platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions applied. You're still watching the AM show. We're going to take a quick breather. We'll be back with more. We haven't been together this morning.
No, we haven't. It's good to have you on board. Love the colors you've been rocking on the show.
Thank you. I try. Thank you. So, Benjamin, I understand you had a big conversation earlier this morning. Tell me about that.
Yes, it was an interesting one. So we had the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sribo Kweku, joining the conversation to clarify that latest CI expected from the Electoral Commission on the back of the use of the Ghana card as the sole documentation for those who are going to be participating in the ongoing voter registration. And he had some very interesting things to say. He gave the guarantee, and I quote him here, he says, no one will be left behind when it comes to voting in 2024. And I asked him pertinent questions about the NIA because it's not in his hands to determine whether people will get the Ghana card or not. And he made mention of the fact that, look, they're working hand in glove with the NIA. There are plans by end of year in the next 3 months to ensure that some of these problematic areas are smoothened, to ensure that from 2023, they can start rolling out the registration exercise, and that it is going to be tabled in Parliament once Parliament resumes, which is just a short while away. And that even, regardless of the fact that the opposition NDC, which constitutes practically half of Parliament, is against this, they are hoping it will pass. My other guests, Dr. Abu Sakara Foster of the National Interest Movement and Dr. Osai Kwapong of the CDD, a fellow, disagreed with him on different counts. They agree that yes, the Ghana card could be a source document, but in terms of the timing, why not, for example, like Dr. Abu Sakara Foster points out, why not have the system complete in terms of voter registration or in terms of Ghana card registration? Then you come and say after after that is done, then in 2023 we'll come and do this. But it is what it is. Maybe we'll get some reactions from our guests on how they feel about that development.
All right, but we'll also open the phone line 030-2211-691, 030-2211-691. Let's go to Abendao, who is always our first caller. Abendao, good morning.
Yeah, my mama Juma wanani ejano.
Yeah, that was it. He says, basically, he's congratulating us on our work. But enani eja all kind of that is where Abendao enani eja.
Hey,
we don't bet me afraid.
And my picture say Obaji. Me to be dressed as this or that.
Me patro Abendao, JoyNews, enya Adom FM, Cabrofu, please. Me international woman, Cabrofu.
You're making Mapito's all her tree come out this morning.
All my 5 trees, please. I hear also then Abendao.
I hear. Oh yeah. Anyway, on the murder cases, they are beyond my imaginations. Yeah, and I think that the IGP with the policemen, they are capable of handling it. So,
right.
The IGP has been doing well, and I would say kudos to him. He should keep it up. But with the NIA cards, yeah, I think that the Electoral Commission should exercise patience for the NIA or authority to come out and say, okay, now the registration is fully covered. People that they are targeting, they have gotten that target before they can make any move that they want to make. Because in Ghana, we can say we want to do this by this time, you will do this by this time, we can do that. And then you realize that by that time, what you intended to accomplish is not done. And what will you do? Actually, some of the things may be done in a way that we don't expect. So I think that they should exercise patience for the NIA to come out with their complete registration. Thank you.
Abendao, thank you for your thoughts. Interesting, because we have ample example of that. Look at the SIM card re-registration and how many times we've had to push back. Look at when we were told we would get the app and how long it's taken to actually get the app. So valid points being made, but the Electoral Commission says it's going to push forward with this, and we'll see how it goes from end of year. You can still call that number 0302-211-691 extension 2. 0302-211-691 extension 2. You also had a very interesting conversation on some of the mental processes that could be going down with these murder cases. But before maybe we get there, let's bring in George. Hello, George.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling you from Enchi.
Enchi?
Yes, please, in the Western North.
Oh, okay. You know, it brings back so many thoughts on the back of. But anyway, let's veer away from that. What are your quick thoughts for us this morning?
Yes. I want to talk on the Galamsey.
Right. Go ahead, George.
Yes. Actually, the Galamsey can be stopped. You know why the Galamsey has been going on is because of the involvement of the politician and our chiefs around. That is actually causing, it is becoming difficult to stop this Galamsey menace. If we can take away the political hooks from this fight, and also the chiefs can be actually we take away from the political hooks and the involvement of the chief, I think the Galamsey can be stopped.
Right. Okay. Right. So basically that will must be there. That's the point you're making.
Yes, please.
Right. Thank you, George, for calling and sharing your thoughts on these matters.
So Ben, I was saying that I was speaking to Dr. Ruth Obusu-Entry, who's the president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, and she was saying that there are a lot of factors that would lead for someone to, do this. Murder, abduct, murder, or sexual assault first, and then murder, and then bury someone.
That's in the case of the central region.
Yeah, that is the case in the Mankasi. And there's a lot of pressure, especially, she was saying that, on men, and because men are more violent, men are more eager to do something. If they're doing something, they'll do it completely and fully, So what happens is that if they're going to do something, instead of leaving, maybe rape you, they'll rather rape and kill you.
They'll go the full haul.
They'll go the full haul. And we know that there's a mental health inflation in Ghana, and that's according to the president of the Ghana Psychological Association. And this is because of COVID, stress. The economy is also a big deal in this because
what's happening now?
Yeah, what's happening now is that people are trying to make ends meet, and they'll work 2 jobs. They'll get home, they have to clean the house, take care of the family, and they're sleeping for only 4 hours.
All that means pressure. A lot more pressure. And
yeah.
some people are not so stable. But we have Smiler joining us from Fadama. Would you like to take Smiler?
Smiler, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
So share your thoughts with us, please.
Please, I want to talk about the thing registration.
Sure.
Go ahead, Smiler.
For me, I think most of people have registered for their SIM card, but still, after 10 years from this month, I heard that the RSS SIM will be blocked. And for me, if like NCA can go back to collect the data at the NIA office and check people who have registered and not get their card yet. For me, NCA has to leave their SIM, but block only people who haven't registered. You understand what I mean, please?
Yeah.
Because some people are since 2019 up to now, they are yet to get their card. And if they block their SIM, it's not their fault. So I want NCA to look at that one for me.
All right.
Smiler, thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. So again, people who are complaining about the same issue, whether it's the EC or SIM card re-registration, you need your Ghana card.
Yeah.
And people are saying, we don't have our Ghana card through no fault of ours. So how do you pin it on us? And what do we do? He's making mention of the fact that he was referencing at the end of this month, the process closes again. Whether it will be renewed or not, no one knows. But at the end of the month, what are these people going to be doing? That's the question. 0302-211-691 extension 2. We have another caller.
Let's go to Ejira Abbas. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, go ahead with your thoughts.
Yes, about the registration with the Ghana card. I guess one of the way of you being able to register for the Ghana card is for you to have a birth set. Am I right? So if it is the birth set that you use to acquire the Ghana card, why are they denying people with the birth set to be able to use that birth set to register for the voter's ID card? It's not logical. You have used the birth set to acquire the Ghana card, and it is acceptable. And if you are to use, and then you use the same Ghana card to acquire the voter's ID card, that's not it. What is wrong with you using the birth set to acquire the voter's ID card? It's not logical. It means they have some motive behind this. If not, why should you, if you are using the birth set for the national ID card, it's allowable. It's allowed. But if you are going to use it for a voter's ID card, not allowed, only Ghana card. What makes the Ghana card special than the birth set? So they have a reason, they have a motive behind that. That's what I have to say.
What motive do you think there could be?
You guess, and all of us, you should guess.
All right. Abbas, thank you for sharing your thoughts. This birth certificate, passport conundrum, and then getting your Ghana card, securing it, has become a thorny issue. Left to me, I would have gone the way of Dr. Abu Sakara Foster, of the national interest movement. Ensure that everybody is on board.
Yeah.
And then you can say, based on the fact that everybody is on board and that there is ample opportunity for those who are now in the rolling registration, those who are now coming on board, the 450,000 plus per year, which would amount to the 1.8 million that Dr. Kweku was speaking of. There's ample opportunity to, register, and then we go ahead. But anyway, we have a final caller calling us from Dansoman, is it?
Yes, please.
Rams, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Please go ahead with your thoughts, Rams.
Okay, so from the last caller, he was making reference to the logic behind using the birth certificate to acquire the Ghana card, but why aren't we being allowed to use the same birth certificate to get the voters register? There are people in the country who are non-citizens who, via some means, do acquire the birth certificates because the birth certificates do not have images on them. There are no images on them. But then, when you are going to use the same birth certificate to go and acquire your Ghana card, there are processes. There is an interview sort of thing that you'll be seen, you will be talked to. So even if you have the birth certificate as a non-citizen and then you go in to try to use it to acquire the Ghana card and you are not a citizen, you will be found out. But then if you use the same thing without the same birth certificate, without it having an image on, to go and acquire the voters register, nobody would know. So in essence, when you use the birth certificate to acquire the Ghana card, in the long run, if the Ghana card is going to be used to acquire voters register, I think we would have a clean voters register at the end of the day. So I am all for the Ghana card being used as a means to acquire a new voters register, if they would go ahead with that idea.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So different opinions on this matter. What I didn't hear, though, was accessibility and the opportunity to ensure that everybody does have the card who deserves or has the right to have the card and who can choose to, get registered for elections. But anyway.
It's been a fantastic show. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Even if we have to say it ourselves.
Of course. Of course. Who said it? Abendal said it. So according to Abendal from Kumasi, it's been a fantastic show and we're doing a great job. So yes, we are. Thank you very much for joining us.
We agree wholly.
We agree. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes and staying with us until this very moment. I am Benjamin Akakpo.
Oh, officially, and my name is Mapito C. Bidi. Which part of South Africa am I from again? I have to check that, just in case. Because now, the EC could be on my case. Thankfully, I have my Ghana card.
Towase, why?
Towase. But we have JoyNews desk coming up
next with Ernest Menu with all the latest in the news.